Hello, this is Grandma Jan from Red Toad Art Studio, and today we are going to be finishing Fluffy. We are going to be adding the shadows and the highlights. So, it's time to get our pencils and our white markers and get started. By the way, you will need a 6B pencil or a Faber-Castell Pitt Graphite Matte Pencil in an 8B, and a Posca pen in white or one of these grabbies will do just great, or an acrylic paint pen. Let's get going. We are doing our shadow work with a pencil, not with paints, not with markers, but with a pencil. And I will be using a Faber-Castell 8B. Now you can use another brand of pencil, but you will need a B, at least a 6B. And I don't think any of them work as well as the Faber-Castell Pitt Graphite Matte. This is kind of brand new. I just caught up with it. It's their newest pencils. I bought a whole set of different sizes. This is really neat. And I'll put a link to this. But I'm using that one pencil. It comes with a blending stick, a nice little sharpener, and eraser. So it's a nice set to have if you're going to stay in artwork. So I would hunt up a pencil, at least a 6B, and you can find those in Walmart in different brands. Those are better than just your regular old school pencil or your sketching pencils. You need one that has the B after it, at least, the very least, a 4B. And you will need something to put highlights in. Now you can use your well-known Posca pen in white. It does a great job, and if you have some of those, it's wonderful. And I also bought me a set of, I guess you call it, Grabby. Grabie. This is from Amazon, the Grabby pen, and it works wonderful. And you get 6 pens. These are 3 whites and 3 blacks. I think it was right around $9, $8 or $9, where a whole set of Posca pens costs a lot more than that. So you might look into these, and again, I will put a link in the video. So, grab your pencil. Don't sharpen it to a point if you can help it. The duller it is, the better it does this job. And if it's real sharp, you might just take another piece of paper and scribble on it until it gets a little dull. So, shall we begin? This is a new idea to me, and I have done art pretty much all my life. I'm not that great. I haven't done it professionally. I've used it in my Sunday school classes and church and home just for fun and on YouTube. I've used it and done it a lot, but I am not a professional, and I have not run into this technique until just lately. And if you want to know more about it, go to Karen Campbell's site online, and she has some beautiful tutorials on how to do this. And we'll do it in some of my later videos too, because I really love this method. So let's get started. The first question is, how do you know where shadows fall? And that is really difficult. One of the first places that shadows fall, and you notice it, is when something recedes from you. It goes away from you, like this neck. It is farther away from you if you're situated right in front of the cat, and he's situated looking at you. It goes away underneath the chin. It goes further away underneath the chin, so that area is darker. Let's put it in. Now, don't press hard with your pencil or you'll get a really dark mark. You just want to shadow the mark. Now, if you don't use this type of pencil, it will react maybe a little differently and be harder to use. It'll just take some practice. So that is a spot that is going away. A little bit under the top lip here will be shadowed because it's further away, just a little bit. What else is farther away? The ears are set back a little farther. We aren't going to do all of the ear because they come up and some of the ear becomes closer to us and some of the ear is farther away. So lightly color this in. Now we aren't done with this yet. We are going to do something with the blending stick that really sets the shadows apart and looks nice. So obviously our cat has 2 ears and he's straight on to us. Now if his head was turned or his body was turned, it'd be a little different. What parts that would be farther from us would be different. But on our cat that's looking at us, both the ears are about the same distance from us, so we'll shadow both of them. Think of a little dip in his ear. Maybe there's a little dip right here. And maybe here. Now, just as a hint at what's going to happen, get your blending stick out. And let's blend this on the ears. And what you'll notice is this will smudge. It will soften and the edges will soften. And it will look more and more like a shadow as you work the graphite into the picture. Now, some of the cheaper pencils. Now, I will admit, and I didn't tell you, the Faber-Castell pencils... They're not cheap. They're about $6 a piece if you buy them separately. But they are well worth it. The set I bought here has, I think 8 pencils in it, and they were over $20. But you know, a pencil lasts a long time. And if you want this effect in your pictures, it really pays to get them. And if you use other brands, you may have to press harder to get the smudge effect. But it will still smudge. Just get a HB and above to get some smudge out of your pencil. And if you don't have a blending stick, you can use your finger or a tissue. It won't be as easy, but it's still doable. And you can practice a little bit with these effects. And when the bottom parts of your blending stick get sturdy, that's good. It's more graphite on there to get onto your picture, and that is very good. Now, another thing I'm going to mention, using graphite is not near as messy as charcoal. I think anyone that's used charcoal will admit it's messy and it's awful. And with charcoal, you can get a glove like this that protects the underneath part of your hand, this part right here. And then it also protects your picture from smudging. But I like to use it with this because we do smudge with this, and it will keep your hand clean if you use one of these gloves. All right, there's a lot more places we need to put our shadow. Now, these legs, they are farther away. Not too much, just a little bit. But let's see, you know, their legs bend, and we need to have a line, something like that in them. We want that to show. Now, there's going to be shadows around this. So add your shadows here. Now I may speed up some of this shadow work just so you don't have to watch so long to see how I do it. And also the whole leg is kind of behind the front legs, obviously, so let's shadow this down. And don't worry about trying to be perfect. And if art were perfect, what's the use of art? Let's just take a picture of it. Don't spend hours drawing it. It's your imperfections that make it beautiful and interesting. And atop the foot here, that's farther back. Now you might find some places, especially with Crayola paint that we used. The better paints I don't think will do this, where it kind of puddled and dried that way. And this may not cover that, but it's all right. We aren't trying to be perfect, as I said. Now, I'm sure there's some other places that's farther away, but I want to give you some other areas. The outside edges, if it's round or oblong, but if it's rounded, not square, as it goes away from us, it will get a little bit darker at the edges. So we're going to darken up the outside edge of the legs, or these back legs. We'll do it with the front legs too because they're round. He doesn't have square legs, I don't think. We could make a cat with square legs and we would have to shadow it different, wouldn't we? There we go. How's that? And then we need to do it over here. You have to do a little thinking with shadowing and highlighting. But once you've done it a few times, it will get easier. Shall we smudge this before we move on? You can do it with the tip or you can lay it on its side, however it's comfortable for you. You'll get a little more smudging by using the side. This poor stick has been used a lot, so. Now don't worry if you go outside the edges of these lines. Try not to, but if you do, it's not a tragedy because you can just erase it. It's hard not to get across that line sometimes. And circling will help it smudge a bit. There we go. Now, let's do some other rounded spots. The legs are rounded, so let's come and add a line of shadow there. Remember, put it in fairly lightly or you'll have real dark shadows. And this is just the beginning of shadowing. This is an HB8. It goes up to an HB14 and they get darker and darker. And we could do some more shadowing with darker pencils if we want to get really into it. And the other side is round too, isn't it? And we're going to do a little bit of shadowing here because the leg is farther back than the paw. And then we need to go back and do this leg. There we are. Let's smudge this now. Now you can choose either to do all your pencil work at once and then smudge everything. And when you get used to this, that's probably what you'll do. But at this stage of the game, it's kind of nice to see the results sooner. It encourages you to keep doing it because this is work, actually. It kind of wears your arm out, your fingers out to do this smudging because you put more pressure on. And there's quite a bit of it you need to do. And so if something encourages you to keep up, to keep on doing it. But you'll get used to it and know what it's going to look like, and you'll do all your pencil work before you smudge. All right. Now, let's get this. Underneath the collar. Anything that's between, well, how shall I say that? Between you and the light, it throws a shadow on whatever is behind it. This is a little closer, and it throws a shadow underneath, just like the chin did. Now, I'm going to come up here to our chin shadow and also come down and kind of meet that shadow. Because the chin actually sticks out quite a ways. Like that. Yeah. See how that looks neat? Oh, I want to round this a little bit. Everything is rounded on a kitty cat. They're soft and cuddly. Maybe. They are like roses. They're beautiful, but they have thorns. And they have 5 of them in each paw. They know how to use them. Okay. Let's do the outside of the tail. It's the same thing. The tail is rounded. At least on this cat it is. Now on a fluffy cat, it might be a little different. This tail is farther back than even these legs, so there needs to be a shadow here. Now I'm thinking when you get more advanced, and I am just learning this, that I could come in with a darker pencil and do a little bit of darker work right here, right at the edge. But we're not going to worry about that now. We're just having fun and learning how to use the materials that we have out there now that are a little different and a lot better. And the rounded tail will mean we go up like this. And all the way up to the tippy top. This little tip of ear came over his tail and it blocked the light a little bit, so we have a shadow around that. Now, the cat's tail is kind of curling, and in the curls that are farther away from us, there will be some shadow. Now, you have to pretty much decide on your picture what places that are on the tail. But I have a curl in here. That'll be shadowed. I have a curl in here, and that will be shadowed. And maybe a little bit here. So, let's go in and smudge. If you really want to see how these work, and I'll do a video on that, I think, I'm going to show you how these work, and it really shows on white paper. Like right here on the tail. This white, look how it smudges. It really looks nice. It doesn't smudge quite as well on the watercolor paint as it does on white paper. There we go. I want that to be a little bit softer, and I'll come over it again. There we go. Now, if you've noticed, we haven't done the face, which is kind of the hardest part to know where to shadow, and the paws. And this, let's go to the face. We already did under the little lips, a little bit under the nose, just a little bit. The nose doesn't stick out very far on a cat's face. Where we're going to notice it the most is around the eyes. And there's an area around the eyes, all around the eyes, that is darker. And in the middle, it comes down, and this is what forms the snout. Just come around this eye like this, and it will set the eye off. So, let's do that with both eyes. Now be sure you come on down to the snout and make a shadow that comes around the little cheek part. And as it disappears around the curve, we're like this. Now, it'll take some practice to figure out your faces. And I don't think I've figured it out yet. It'll take a lot of practice for me, too. And if you've got space, you will come a little bit more around the nose. And we need to do that on both sets. And when we're coming around to the ruffs on his RUFFs on the side of his face, go under the shadow the underneath part, I think. But how you shadow these is up to you. And you might even have a little bit of it coming out like this. We're not exactly realistic in the drawing of our cat. They do not have as round of eyes as we've made them have. You've heard of cat eyes, haven't you? They don't look like this. Let's see, let's get this one in. It's a part of my watercolor that doesn't want to cover, and that's all right. And just any other places you feel would have a shadow down here. And I think a little more on the chin. Now, above the eyes, do a quite dark shadow up above the eye. This again is where you might use your darker pencil. Don't forget you're doing one more layer, and that's highlights, which might go on top of our shadows. And then we're going above this area. It kind of shows the eyelid. And the head is getting farther away at the top. And I'm going to do a little bit of shadowing here. Again, that doesn't want to shadow because that is a puddle from my watercolors. I don't think the better brands, I don't know, maybe all watercolors will do that kind of puddle. I haven't tried it with my better set of watercolors. All right, that face is looking pretty good. We have to smudge it. Do that. And then we'll work on his tummy, his tail, and his paws. And then we'll be done. To be honest, you'll feel like you're running your picture when you first start doing this. And sometimes you do. I've had several that I did not like my smudges at all. And I still have a lot to learn. And you see where I went over there? I'm going to come along with an eraser and get that off. It's really subtle, the difference. How you doing? I hope it's working well for you. If it's not, remember, if you don't have the right pencil, that may be a reason, and not that you can't do it. Just you need to change your tools. There's my cat head. I don't think it's too bad at all. All right. Let's, I want to darken the top of my nose just a little bit. And there's some work to be done on the eyes. There is a lot of work in the shadowing part of the video. Let's go down and take care of this rough. I have found it, pick a side and just shadow on one edge of your fluff, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put a shadow up there from the grass. Now, take your blending stick, and since it's white, it will really blend in and make the shadows that look like shadows inside that fluffy part. You don't draw lines to make it look fluffy. It's just the shadows that will do it. And you draw it in a little bit. Pull it in a little bit. And then smudge it a little bit with a stick. Now, we've got other spots to blend, though, that are a little jagged. Just come along there with a little bit. And on the tail, you can add a little bit if you want. Not a whole lot. Just to kind of finish it off. There we go. How about let's do the paws. Now, parts of these paws are going to be highlighted. Let's start with this one. I figure this will be a little lighter. This will shape the paws. Their paws don't really come out in a straight line. They have shape to them. So I like to lightly draw these circles in and then fill in around those circles. And when you smudge it, it will give it a nice shape. Now, if you want a cat with colored paws, where you draw these circles, lighten them like we did the cheeks, and it will look really nice. Now, don't go away because I'm going to show you something in the eyes that makes a big difference and you'll want to do. You want your eyes to look neat and set apart. We're almost done. We have to do some highlights yet. Do the eyes and some highlights and we'll be done. And the highlights go quickly. They're the fastest part of the whole process. And on this back claw, I should say paw, let's do a kind of circle. Have that as a highlight area. And as it's in the back, we're going to color that whole back area of that paw. Now, the more time you take with this shadowing and smudging, the better it will be. I'm trying to hurry a little bit so this video doesn't take forever. But you have all the time in the world. Maybe, probably not. Who has that much time? But if you have the time, take your time doing this and do it as well as possible. Now, let's smudge away. Kind of smudge in a circle around those circles and try not to cover them up totally. Doesn't that make a cute picture? And if you're doing the claws or the paws so that the toe beans show, that makes great toe beans too. Okay, now let's go up to the eyes. We may come down and put a shadow here of the cat on his grass, but let's go up to the eyes. These are very important. On any creature, most of them that have eyelids, the eyelids shadow the top part of the eye. And for people, if you're drawing people, if you're drawing portraits of people, that's true too. So you want to shadow right under the eyelid. That's something we forget often, at least I have forgotten it. Now, the next thing, well, before you go to the next thing, let's smudge that a little bit. These are things you don't even notice when you look at a finished picture, but it's there, and it's what makes them look, well, realistic, although this is a cartoon cat. Now, right around the pupil, make little lines. Not dark, just barely there so you can see them. Radiating out from that pupil. See how I'm just going every once in a while? Like this. Then lightly smudge those lines. Not totally. You want a little bit of those lines to show. Remember, we still have highlight work, but that is very quick. And on the eyes, take your pencil and make a dark outline right around the edge of the eye. Just like this on the inside of the eye. If you notice, on a lot of people and a lot of animals, there is a dark outline right there. And don't smudge this. Leave it be. Now, one thing I do want to do is do a little bit of shadowing underneath the cat where he is sitting on the grass. It disturbs me that there's no shadow here. It's up to you if you put it in or not. It may not be important to your picture, but I feel the lack of something to not have a little bit of shadow. And smudge that. And now we'll do our highlighting. That helps out, doesn't it? Now, the highlight. I'm going to use my grabby. But the Posca pen works just as well, except I've used my Posca so much that the tip doesn't work very well now. So, one important place we want to put a highlight is right here on the nose. Now, at first you feel like that's too much, but you forget it's there because that highlight is needed. A highlight right above the eye and that dark spot that you put in. Yep, right there. A highlight on the collar. Like that. I'm going up to the tip of the ears and do a little highlight. Highlights are where the sun is hitting, and it's the closest to you, or where the sun is hitting. Now, these aren't the closest to me, but the sun above would be hitting those ears and a little bit right here. And maybe a little bit on the chin. Now, I think it would also highlight here, where the knees are bending. Let's go to the tail. On the top of the tail, maybe on some of the sides that are coming out. That probably wouldn't have been it, but nobody's going to think about that. And if these weren't white, you would want to highlight in them. But since they are white, I don't think my highlights will show too much. There. Any other place? How about right in here, a highlight? The little heart, one side of that will be highlighted, that is towards the sun. Now, we quickly need to erase. I have an old eraser that I think came from school days. Now, that was a long time ago for me, but I used to use this kind in school. But since it has this sharp edge, it works well. You could use an electric eraser. I have one of those, and they work well. But I really like these because of the sharp edge. And I can go catch places that I smudged. Too far. Too far I smudged. But not too many places. Now, I see a smudge here too. You don't want to go phew because of all that smudgy stuff. But you can take a tissue paper and wipe your cat off, because you don't want a lot of smudge to come off on other things, or if it's in a book on the opposite page. So give him a good wipe down. It takes a little bit off, not a lot, but what it does take off, it saves from going on you or your book or other places where you don't want it. And it doesn't seem to smudge too much on the cat. Experiment. Be sure you don't smudge your cat. Now, last thing left to do is get your pen back out and sign it. I like to sign it and date it, the 26th for 2026. And there we go. We have finished Fluffy. So what do you think of this method? I'm really interested to hear what you think of it. And I know it can be improved on. I'm learning too. And as I say, if you want to learn more, go to Karen Campbell's site online. I don't know the exact name of her videos, but I know the name. If you search for her name, Karen, Campbell, you'll find her, and she's very interesting to watch and has a lot of good advice, and I'm sure she can teach you more than I have. But I'm going to continue with this method on several things, and so you'll see this in my future videos too. So I'm hoping you really enjoyed learning how to do this cat. I know it was time consuming, but a lot of learning is time consuming. So I'm going to wish you bye for now. I will see you in my next video, and have a great crafting, artistic, drawing, painting day. Bye-bye.